The plane that accidentally reached space. What if I told you that one fateful day in the heat of the Cold War, a plane built to kiss the edge of the stratosphere accidentally crossed over into space? A rocket plane, one pilot, one unplanned journey into the void. This is not a tale of science fiction or wild imagination. It's a true story that blurs the boundaries between Earth and the cosmos. This video will carry you into the heart of an extraordinary mission that changed our perception of limits. It's the story of the X-15 rocket plane, test pilot Joe Walker, and the moment they defied expectations, broke unthinkable barriers, and unofficially soared into the realm of space. Prepare for a gripping narrative of courage, innovation, and unintended triumph that continues to inspire daredevils and dreamers to this day. The year was 1963, and the world was deep in the throes of the Cold War, a relentless battle for supremacy between the United States and the Soviet Union. But this rivalry wasn't limited to military might. It spilled into technology, science, and above all, space exploration. Whichever side could conquer the skies would dominate not just Earth, but the infinite expanse beyond it. Enter the X-15 program, one of the most daring experiments in aviation history. Developed by NASA, the United States Air Force, and private aerospace companies, the X-15 rocket plane represented humanity's desire to break records and boundaries. Its mission? To explore the uncharted territory between controlled flight and the edge of space, testing the limits of speed, altitude, and human endurance. But the X-15 wasn't just an airplane. It was an engineering masterpiece, capable of traveling at Mach 6 times the speed of sound, and reaching altitudes few had dared to dream of. It was, simply put, a machine built to dance at the precipice of the unimaginable. And on one extraordinary day, it would leap even further. At the heart of this story is Joe Walker, a test pilot with nerves of steel and a passion for exploration. Walker was no stranger to pushing the limits. He had already earned respect as an aviator willing to test experimental aircraft in pursuit of knowledge. To him, flying the X-15 was a challenge, a calculated gamble he was willing to take. On August 22, 1963, Walker prepped for what he assumed would be a routine mission. A veteran of the program, he had flown the X-15 numerous times, and this flight was meant to test the plane's performance at high altitudes. There was no indication, no warning, that this would be the day he made history. The mission began like any other. The X-15 was strapped beneath its B-52 mothership on the runway of Edwards Air Force Base. Once the bomber reached a suitable altitude, the rocket plane was released, and its engines roared to life. A deafening blast, followed by sheer acceleration, ensued as Walker ascended through the atmosphere. At first, everything proceeded according to plan. Walker executed his flight commands, steadily climbing to the target altitude. But the thing about pushing boundaries is that they don't always push back predictably. The X-15's revolutionary rocket engine carried Walker higher and higher, far higher than anticipated. Unknowingly, Walker crossed the Kármán line, the invisible boundary 62 miles above Earth that marks the start of outer space. At an altitude of over 66 miles, Walker became something extraordinary, an astronaut. But unlike the carefully orchestrated missions of NASA's Mercury or Gemini astronauts, this was an accident. Imagine it, at the peak of his unexpected journey, Walker was surrounded by the pristine, jet-black void of space. Below him, Earth's curvature revealed itself, breathtaking and surreal. In that moment, Joe Walker joined an elite group who would travel beyond the limits of our planet. But unlike others hailed as space pioneers, his incredible feat went unnoticed in the broader world, viewed as a fluke, rather than a historic milestone. Crossing into space may have been a triumphant accident, but coming back down was an entirely different challenge. Walker found himself in uncharted territory, with the X-15 behaving in ways no one had fully accounted for at such ridiculous altitudes. He needed to regain control as the plane began its harrowing descent toward Earth. With no sophisticated re-entry systems like modern spacecraft, Walker relied on razor-sharp instincts, precision flying, and some of the most intense training a pilot could undergo. Every second mattered. Any mistake at such breakneck speeds could have meant disaster. Yet inch by painstaking inch, Joe Walker guided the X-15 back into breathable skies. His pulse likely pounded in his ears as he approached Edwards Air Force Base, safe, but absolutely shaken by the unanticipated voyage. When Walker touched down, the immediate priority was assessing what had happened, both technically and physically. How did the plane exceed its limits so dramatically? And what did this mean for the future of the X-15 program and aviation as a whole. The science world buzzed with excitement over the data Walker's flight had provided. Yet strangely, his accomplishment didn't secure him the title of astronaut officially. At that time, NASA did not formally recognize X-15 pilots who crossed into space, leaving Walker's leap into the void an accomplishment celebrated only by those close to the aerospace community. It was an accident, yes, but an accident that hinted at humanity's ability to pivot seamlessly between worlds, from air to space. Joe Walker's accidental mission was just one chapter in the incredible legacy of the X-15 program. Over nearly a decade of operation, the X-15 achieved remarkable milestones, paving the way for technologies used in the space shuttle and even modern spacecraft. It bridged the gap between traditional atmospheric flight and controlled suborbital travel, creating the blueprint for future generations. Years later, the X-15's influence can still be felt in vehicles like Virgin Galactic's Spaceship Two and other commercial efforts aimed at space travel. What was once experimental is now becoming accessible, thanks in part to the daring flights of pilots like Joe Walker. But perhaps the most profound aspect of this story isn't just the numbers, the technology, or even the historic milestone itself. It's what it says about humanity. Humans are a species driven by curiosity, by the overwhelming desire to push beyond what we know. Joe Walker didn't set out to touch space that day, but his courage and adaptability when faced with the unknown is what makes his story so inspiring. His accidental crossing reminds us that exploration is often messy, unpredictable, and full of surprises. The tale of Joe Walker and the X-15 rocket plane is, at its core, a testament to what happens when we aim for the unknown. Sometimes, we break into entirely new realms, not because we intended to, but because the circumstances pushed us there. This was the plane that accidentally reached space, and its story will forever echo in the hearts of dreamers, explorers, and lovers of the cosmos. So as we continue to look up at the stars, we should remember Joe Walker's journey, not as a fluke, but as an accidental revolution, a reminder that sometimes brilliance and progress come when we least expect them. After all, who knows which boundaries we'll cross next, intentionally or otherwise. The skies are not the limit, they're just the beginning.